In pursuit of stability, Turkey revisits the global crisis and proposes new approaches. This video series sheds light on Turkey's stabilizing role. On February 24, Russian President Vladimir Putin ordered Russian troops to attack Ukraine. The date coincided with the annexation of the Crimean Peninsula 8 years ago in 2014. Bomb explosions and gunfire shots rang out time to time in the major cities as Russian and Ukrainian soldiers exchanged fire. Tens of thousands of Ukrainians and Russians have died since the war began, and it triggered a mass exodus, leading to Europe's biggest refugee crisis since World War II. As all eyes turned to the US and other major Western powers, stifling financial sanctions on Russia were imposed. NATO agreed to shore up its eastern flank and deployed more troops. However, none of the Western countries directly responded militarily. Turkey, a NATO member that shares its maritime border with both Russia and Ukraine, condemned the Russian attack. But it neither severed its diplomatic ties with Russia nor imposed any sanctions. Instead, it has been at the forefront to help solve the crisis by undertaking a stabilizing and mediator's role. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan cleared his stance on the situation, stating Russia's war on Ukraine is unacceptable, and criticized the West for not taking decisive action when Russia annexed Crimea in 2014. Ankara recognizes Crimea as part of Ukraine, and to strengthen bilateral ties, Turkey and Ukraine have signed several agreements in the last couple of years, particularly a defensive partnership, including Turkey's sophisticated Bayraktar drones. Despite being a NATO member since 1952 and deep ties with Ukraine, Turkey has also maintained diplomatic and favorable relations with Russia. While forging cooperation on economy and energy, Turkey has opposed Moscow's policies in Syria and Libya, as well as its annexation of the Crimean Peninsula in 2014. As the world was taking sides, Turkey was busy keeping the diplomatic and communication channels open with both warring sides, giving a glimmer of hope of ending the war. Ankara's efforts yielded results after intense diplomacy through several calls between the leaders. In March, Turkey hosted the first high-level peace talks between Russia and Ukraine in Antalya. For the first time since the war began, Russian and Ukrainian foreign ministers met face-to-face, and the meeting opened the diplomatic channel. Meanwhile, Turkey described the situation in Ukraine as a war, and it implemented the Montreux Convention in the most effective manner and without thinking about which party it will serve. Under the 1936 Montreux Convention Pact, Turkey has control over the Bosphorus and Dardanelles Straits and can limit passage of warships during the time of a war or if threatened. Ankara said its move was to prevent the crisis from further escalating and spreading to the whole Black Sea region. Turkish Foreign Minister Mevlut Çavuşoğlu in mid-March visited both Russia and Ukraine. During his visit, Ukrainian Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba asked Turkey to be a guarantor for any future deal with Russia, along with the UN Security Council's 5 permanent members and Germany. Russian Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakharova also said she was thankful to Turkey for its balancing role. After the Antalya meeting, Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan hosted peace talks in Istanbul in March end. This time, the talks had a significant impact and change could be seen on the ground. A few days later, the Russian military started to withdraw from the area around Kiev. However, despite the positive steps and Ankara's mediation, tensions continue to rise in Ukraine, and more than 5 million Ukrainians have left the country and millions have been internally displaced. Turkish aid organizations are working around the clock to provide humanitarian relief to Ukrainian refugees seeking shelter in neighboring countries. Over 68,000 Ukrainian refugees took shelter in Türkiye. Türkiye already hosts more than 4 million refugees since the beginning of the Syrian war, and its experience paved the way of a successful humanitarian diplomacy during the Russia-Ukraine war. Before the war, Ukraine exported on average about 6 million tons of agri-commodities monthly to countries around the world, making it one of the world's major grain exporters. Prices of products like wheat, barley, and corn have soared, causing a global food security crisis. Türkiye worked hard to solve this issue and was in close contact with both Russia and Ukraine, as well as the United Nations. On July, Türkiye hosted the UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres and representatives of Russia and Ukraine to solve the global grain problem. The warring sides signed a deal in Istanbul to facilitate the trade of 20 million tons of grain stranded in silos along Ukraine's Black Sea coast. Türkiye's diplomatic efforts and the opening of the grain corridor has been appreciated by countries around the world. Türkiye contributes to bring peace and stability in a destabilizing world, and its unique role as a mediator in the Ukraine-Russia conflict opens a diplomatic channel, establishing trust on both sides.